Hello there, travelers and language enthusiasts. Welcome to the very first episode of Travel Speak, the podcast that's going to transform your travel experience by giving you all the essential English phrases you need to navigate foreign lands with confidence. I'm Clara.
And I'm Leo. So excited to be launching this series with you, Clara. I still remember when we got completely lost in Seoul because I couldn't pronounce the name of our hotel correctly.
Oh my goodness, yes. But wasn't that part of the adventure? We ended up discovering that amazing street food market we would have never found otherwise.
That's true. Though I think my stomach would have appreciated if we'd found our hotel a bit sooner. But hey, that's exactly why we're creating this podcast, to help our listeners avoid those awkward language barrier moments, or at least handle them with more grace than I did.
Absolutely. In this 6-episode series, we'll cover everything from transportation and dining to accommodation, shopping, emergencies, and social interactions. Basically, all the language essentials you need for your travels.
And today we're kicking things off with getting around with confidence, because let's face it, if you can't get from point A to point B, your travel experience might be a bit limited.
So true. We'll be covering airport essentials, public transportation, taxis, asking for directions, and using navigation apps. Let's help our listeners move around English-speaking countries like locals.
Let's start with airport and flight essentials. Clara, you've probably spent half your life in airports with all your adventuring.
Not quite half, but enough to know my way around. When you first arrive at the airport, you'll need check-in phrases like, I'd like to check in for my flight to London, or I have an electronic ticket, and don't forget, do I need to check this bag?
And security is always fun, right? Useful phrases there include, where is the security checkpoint, and do I need to remove my laptop?
Exactly. And once you're through security, you might need to ask, which gate is flight BA 493 departing from? Or has there been an announcement about the delay for the Paris flight?
I've definitely needed that last one more times than I'd like to admit. Oh, and on the plane itself, you might need phrases like, may I have a blanket, please? Or, when will the meal service begin?
And hopefully you won't need it, but knowing how to say, I seem to have lost my luggage, and can you help me fill out a lost baggage form can be real lifesavers.
Tell me about it. Remember when the airline sent my suitcase to Budapest while I went to Barcelona? I was wearing the same clothes for 3 days.
But you made it work. Your Instagram photos looked great despite the repeated outfits. Always finding the bright side, that's why we're friends.
Next up, let's talk about public transportation navigation, which can be intimidating, but is often the most efficient way to get around.
Definitely. For buying tickets, you'll want to know phrases like, I'd like a day pass, please, or is there a discount card for tourists? And it's always good to ask, does this ticket work for both buses and trains?
For schedules and routes, questions like, how frequently do the buses run? Or, which line goes to the museum district are super helpful.
And sometimes those announcements can be hard to understand, even for native speakers. So don't be shy about asking, could you repeat which stations are closed today, or did they just announce a delay?
Some key vocabulary to know includes terms like single ticket, return ticket, platform, connection, transfer, and fare. And don't forget peak hours and off-peak. Those can affect both price and how crowded the transportation will be.
Oh, absolutely. I always try to travel during off-peak hours when I can. Last time I was in London, I made the mistake of taking the tube during rush hour with my massive backpack. I got so many annoyed looks, but this lovely older gentleman actually helped me navigate to my stop and told me the best times to travel. People can be so kind when you're lost.
Moving on to taxi and rideshare conversations. This is something I rely on heavily when I'm too tired to figure out public transport or when I'm running late.
Me too. To hail a taxi, you might simply raise your hand on the street or say, taxi. But once they stop, you'll need phrases like, can you take me to the Natural History Museum, please? Or, I'm going to this address, while showing them written directions.
And for those important fare discussions, how much will it cost to get to the airport? Or do you accept credit cards? Or even, can I get a receipt, please?
Small talk with drivers can actually be one of the best ways to learn about a city. Questions like, how long have you been driving a taxi? Or what's a good local restaurant around here? Can lead to amazing recommendations.
That's how I found my favorite coffee shop in Seattle last year. The taxi driver told me about this hidden gem that wasn't in any of the guidebooks. Sometimes the best travel experiences come from these random conversations.
Couldn't agree more. And for rideshare apps like Uber or Lyft, you might need phrases like, I've ordered a ride, or are you here for Clara? And don't forget to confirm the license plate number by saying some things like, I'm checking that your plate is ABC 123.
Safety first. Also, where should I sit, or is it okay if I open the window? Are good polite questions for rideshares.
The next segment is all about asking for directions, something you'll probably do multiple times during any trip.
Definitely. Starting with polite approaches like, "Excuse me, could you help me find?" Or, "I'm sorry to bother you, but I'm a bit lost." These show respect for the person's time.
Then, for formulating your questions clearly, how do I get to the art museum from here? Or is the train station within walking distance? Or even, could you show me on this map?
And understanding directional language is crucial. Terms like turn left, right, go straight ahead at traffic light, take the second street on the left, it's about a 10-minute walk, and so on.
Don't forget those confirmation phrases. So I take this road until the bank, then turn right, or let me make sure I understand. I need to take the blue line southbound.
Those are so important. I once thought I understood directions in Dublin, but ended up walking for 45 minutes in the completely wrong direction because I was too embarrassed to double check.
But I bet you saw some interesting parts of Dublin you wouldn't have otherwise. I always think getting a little lost can be part of the fun, as long as you're not in a hurry and it's a safe area.
That's true. I did discover this amazing little bookshop that had a reading by a local poet that evening. Ended up staying for that and meeting some fascinated locals. So I guess getting lost worked out in the end.
Our final segment today is about map and navigation apps help, because even with all our technology, sometimes we still need human assistance.
So true. Useful map vocabulary includes terms like legend, scale, north, south, east, west, intersection, landmark, and block, as in, it's 2 blocks away.
And when asking for help with navigation apps, phrases like, does this address look correct? Or can you show me where we are on the map? Can be invaluable.
Understanding location descriptions is important too, like knowing what people mean when they say it's on the corner of First and Main or it's across from the library.
And of course, the phrases for when you're completely lost. I think I've gone the wrong way, or my GPS isn't working, or simply, I'm lost. Could you help me find my way back to my hotel?
I've definitely had to use that last one before. My phone died in Barcelona after I'd been relying on Google Maps all day. I had to ask several people for help, but everyone was so nice about it. It made me realize how important it is to at least learn basic phrases in the local language.
Absolutely. Even though our podcast focuses on English phrases, I always try to learn at least hello, please, thank you, and do you speak English in the local language? It shows respect, and people really appreciate the effort, even if your pronunciation isn't perfect.
A great point. Technology is amazing, but having those human connection skills is still essential for travel and often leads to the most memorable experiences.
We've covered so much ground today, literally, from navigating airports and public transportation to taxis, asking for directions, and using maps and apps.
It's really about building that confidence to get around in English-speaking environments. Remember, it's okay to make mistakes. Most people are happy to help tourists who are making an effort.
Exactly. And don't be afraid to ask people to repeat things or speak more slowly. Most locals understand that their normal speaking pace might be challenging for non-native speakers.
Great point. What would you say is your top tip from today's episode, Clara?
I'd say always confirm directions or information you've received. A simple, so to confirm I need to, can save you hours of wandering in the wrong direction. What about you?
Mine would be to always have a backup plan for navigation. Don't rely solely on your phone. A small paper map or written directions to your accommodation can be lifesavers if your battery dies or you lose service.
Great advice. And speaking of food, which is what I think about when I hear backup plan, in our next episode, we'll be diving into food and dining adventures. We'll cover everything from making reservations and understanding menus to ordering with confidence and handling dietary restrictions.
I can't wait for that one. Food is such a huge part of the travel experience. We'll help our listeners order confidently, understand culinary terminology, and really enjoy the local cuisine without language barriers.
Absolutely. If you enjoyed today's episode, please share it with friends who love traveling or are learning English. And we'd love to hear your own travel stories or language questions in the comments or on social media.
Thanks for joining us for our very first episode of Travel Speak. Until next time, safe travels and happy speaking.